the $3.5 trillion stimulus package that is supposed to be, the real feather in the cap of President Biden. Like, this is going to be his main legacy and agenda is the, $3.5 trillion stimulus package that's going to radically alter the American landscape. And I think it absolutely could, based on some of the, the framework that we've seen on climate change, on elder care, on child care, on families, on health care, on Medicare, on prescription drugs. I mean, the list is long. But Senator Joe Manchin thinks we just cannot spend this kind of money. At some point, we've got to put our foot down. We've got to just say we can't spend this money. He's okay, literally approving. Joe Manchin has approved over $9 trillion in spending for the military. That's been his track record. He's okay with that. $9 trillion. He's totally fine with that. But now, when it comes to helping the people of West Virginia and otherwise, he just can't stomach it. So, Joe Manchin yesterday drew a distinction and opened himself up pretty good. He said, about Bernie Sanders, what Bernie Sanders wants is an entitlement society. That you guys are all just entitlement, junkies. You want your entitlement. You want your cheaper prescription drugs and you want your health care. You're just entitled. Like everyone watching right now in my chat right now on this live show, you guys are all just entitled. You're lazy, entitled Americans, according to Joe Manchin.
Wanting things like health and education, like entitled.
Yeah, Philip. Like you want education? You're an entitled son of a gun. Like you want to learn? Like a government's sole job is to protect its people, right? To take care of its people. That's it. Healthcare.
I mean, it's just like such a. Oh, sorry. It's such a peon argument. Like, how dare you want to better yourself? Like, that's not what you're supposed to do.
How dare you?
Peasant.
Yeah, unless you're like a big oil or gas company or coal company, then I'll make sure you got all the handouts you need, right? I'll take care of you here in West Virginia, Joe Manchin. I'll take care of you. But when it comes to helping the American people, you're just entitled, lazy sons of guns, And so the difference, I love this. He says, what Bernie Sanders wants is an entitlement society. And then Joe Manchin stands up and he says, you know what I want? I want a compassionate and rewarding society. So Bernie Sanders had quite the rejoinder last night. Watch him clap back at Joe Manchin last night on MSNBC. Watch this, if you can stomach the MSNBC.
After you gave your press conference today and talked about Senator Manchin by name in such specific terms, he put out a statement saying that you and he have very different political beliefs and that he thinks that you want America to be an entitlement society where he doesn't want that. He wants what he called a compassionate and rewarding society. It's an unusual dynamic playing out sort of effectively through the press. With you at this press conference and him in this written statement today, are the two of you going to eventually get together face to face and talk this out personally? Will that part of be the way this resolves?
Well, it's not just me. We do meet. He's part of leadership. I'm part of the Democratic leadership. Every week we sit down and these issues do coming up. I'm not quite sure, and we need Mr. Manchin, Senator Manchin, to help us out here, what a compassionate and rewarding society it's about. Does that mean addressing the reality that 600,000 people in America are homeless? Does it mean dealing with the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality that we have? Does it mean, dealing with the fact that 1 out of 4 Americans can't fill the prescriptions that their doctors write because the price of drugs in this country is in some cases 10 times higher than it is in Canada and other countries? So we need some specificity. Now, he wants to say, I believe in an entitlement society. I would not look at it, use that phraseology. I do believe in a nation based on economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. Yeah, frankly, I admit it. You got it right here on your show. I believe that all Americans are entitled as human beings to health care. I believe people are entitled to quality education regardless of their income. I believe that people are entitled to affordable housing. I don't believe that two people are entitled to own more wealth than the bottom 40% of American society. And by the way, one of the things that's playing out here, Rachel, and I don't think the media has paid appropriate attention to it, is in the midst of all of this, the ruling class of this country, and that is the drug companies, the insurance companies, fossil fuel industry, they're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Pharmaceutical industry has 1,500 paid lobbyists on Capitol Hill, 3 lobbyists for every member of Congress, so that we don't raise prescription drugs. So this is a pivotal moment in American history, it seems to me, really. And I'm going to continue to fight, as I have for working families, and do my best to prevent this country from moving in an authoritarian direction, because you got so many people out there. They're working long hours for lower wages. Their kids are going nowhere in a hurry. They can't take care of their parents. And they are saying, does the United States government care about me, or are they only worried about their campaign contributions from wealthy individuals? So this is not only trying to improve life for working families who are really struggling to keep their ends together. It is whether or not we retain a democracy in which government works for all and not just the very wealthy and the powerful.
Yeah, that's a pipe dream. When has this government really worked for the people? I mean, really? You know, that's what we'd like, but that doesn't exist right now. So keep fighting, Bernie. West Virginia, by just so you understand, Joe Manchin's territory, West Virginia is the 4th largest recipient of federal money. But okay, Joe, as opposed to the compassionate and rewarding society Manchin says he wants. So I guess West Virginia then is entitled because they get the 4th largest recipient of federal money. And Joe Manchin now says he will not support the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. We've known about that. He said yesterday he will only go as high as $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion. That's where he'll go. $1.5 trillion is the highest that he'll go. So, you know, I mean, when I say cut in half, I mean, frankly, more than half. You know, 3.5 trillion down to 1.5 trillion. That, you know, you're looking at way less money for all of these programs. Prescription drugs being lowered, the cost of prescription drugs, probably not.
No, I mean, because you know they're not gonna, when they start cutting things to hit this 1.5 trillion number, you know it's not going to be oil companies, the coal companies. You know, it's like that's not who they're going to cut. They're going to cut the stuff that they feel like is fluff, like education, or you know, like prescription drugs, you know, like things that people don't really need. That's the kind of, oh, that's just padding in the bill.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've already seen him try to shoehorn in like, hey, if we're going to do a power upgrade in this country for electric vehicles, we also need to make sure that we also give incentives for the fossil fuel trucks. Like,
like the buses. We need more like fossil fuel buses if we're going to have electric ones.
Yeah, so if you're going to add electric buses, the whole point is to reduce our carbon footprint. Okay, if you're going to add electric buses, we also want to have, so if you're going to add 50 new electric buses per city, we also want you to add 50 new fossil fuel buses. Okay? Okay? That's how I make my deals here in West Virginia. I'm Joe Manchin. What? No, you completely are missing the point. Like, you're not getting it, are you, Joe? And Kirsten Sinema.
Yeah, and if they don't want that, then they at least need to burn barrels of oil just in an open field next to a tire fire, just so that it offsets the.
You need to have a burn pit. You just need to, if you can't do that, you just need to open up a burn pit so we have, like, our skies are filled with black smoke. But this is sad. I mean, this is what we're seeing right now is this, any kind of a stimulus. And so yesterday, President Biden came out and said, okay. I'm willing to go down to as low as $2 trillion. That's not enough for Manchin. So Manchin and Sinema, these two people, these two senators, are literally holding this entire thing hostage. They've now managed to eliminate $1.5 trillion off of the overall stimulus package. Think about getting stimulus checks. Good luck with that. At least that could have been in this larger package. Who knows if it'll make it in there. But he says, I won't even go as high as $2 trillion. So mark my words, we're going to end up seeing a stimulus package come out of the Biden administration that's going to be somewhere around like 1.7, maybe 1.6. That's going to be it. How many things will now get cut? Prescription drugs? What about expanding the child tax credit, right, for families? What about the non-child tax credit for people who are single, who don't have children? That's in there. Will that be eliminated? Like, what's going to get cut now, Joe? This is all, and so Bernie Sanders held a press conference after this yesterday and had a few choice words for Senator Manchin.
Comments about what Senator Manchin said earlier today. First, let us be clear. Poll after poll, including polls in West Virginia, show that what we are trying to do in this reconciliation bill is enormously popular among the American people. But it's not just the American people who support what we're trying to do. 48 out of 50 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus support the bill, and 210 members, about 96% of the House Democratic Caucus, support the bill. And by the way, the President of the United States supports the bill. And while we're at it, let me tell you who is vigorously opposed to this legislation. And I think it's important that the American people understand that, because this is the corruption of American politics.
Basically, he's calling Joe Manchin corrupt. Right there. This is the corruption of American politics. This is leveled right at Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Taking money from fossil fuel companies and hedge funds and other Wall Street big shots that don't want their taxes to go up, that don't want to have to reduce the amount of money that they make from selling prescription drugs. Corruption.
The pharmaceutical industry is currently spending hundreds of millions of dollars on lobbying, on campaign contributions, on advertising to oppose this bill, because they do not want to have us lower the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs in America. The health insurance industry is spending a huge amount of money because they do not want us to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. The fossil fuel industry, the coal companies and the
coal companies. Who are you talking about here? Joe Manchin?
Oil companies are spending millions of dollars, despite the fact that the scientists are virtually unanimous in telling us that we must end our dependence on fossil fuel and move to energy efficiency and sustainable energy if we are going to save this planet. And it goes without saying that the billionaire class and the large corporations are spending a fortune in opposition to this bill because they love the idea that some of the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations in a given year do not pay a nickel in federal income tax. And they're fighting to preserve that absurdity.
Corrupt. Joe Manchin, corrupt. Corrupt politician. Kyrsten Sinema, corrupt. Taking all this money from fossil fuel companies, demanding that we lower the overall cost of this spending bill, and yet he's approved $9 trillion in spending for the United States military budgets. He makes sure that, all kinds of incentives go out to these big pharmaceutical companies, fossil fuel companies, coal companies, etc. No wonder we can't get anything done. And the people get screwed once again. So we'll keep our eye on it. We'll see if Joe Biden is going to stand up and use the power of the presidency to say, I am not budging off of my $3.5 trillion. But yesterday he came out and said, I'm willing to go down to $2 trillion. I'm willing to take a $1.5 trillion off my number because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema want a lower number. That's your stimulus update. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.